Okay, so I am back for you guys, and welcome to the podcast. Again, we are going over the new moon. So, yeah, interesting time, of course. All right, so as of right now, this will be happening on the 27th, which is tomorrow, or it could be, a little bit different depending on what type of world you're in, but this is set for Thursday, the 27th of February, 7:45 p.m. This is when the sun and the moon meets together. It is pretty much known as a new moon. A lot of things that has been interesting that's said already is this new moon will follow along a eclipse, apparently, which would happen next month in March. So we're just going to go to some of the basics, and where this is happening is Pisces. The sun and the moon will both be at 9 degrees in 40 minutes of Pisces. You can find all this information basically by searching up free birth chart. There are several websites you can use, but you want to make sure you go to a website where, of course, there is a little bit of information such as astro.com. I am not promoting them, but they do offer pretty good information for you to study in case you want to go basic. So again, we have the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune all in Pisces. At the beginning of the sign of Pisces, we basically will have Sun and Moon, of course, where the new moon meets. Then you're going to be looking at Mercury and Saturn, which are both about 20-something degrees, and then Liberty at the end is going to be Neptune. And according to several researchers, they have found out that Neptune is a ruler of Pisces. So, yeah, this is pretty major because after a few weeks from now, of course, you're going to have Neptune pretty much move into Aries. It's going to take a little while, but both eventually Neptune and Saturn, which are known as generational planets, will both be in the sign of Aries. And that's just going to be a starting of new, new ways, new life, new way of being, new ideas. Because right now, maybe Saturn and Neptune are both kind of figuring out what to do, because this is the very last sign of the zodiacs. And also, I did leave out the North Node. This is considered to be at pretty much the same area of Neptune, which is about 27 degrees of Pisces. North Node is a position in everyone's birth chart as well. And of course, it does, for some make sense to mention because North Node is known as destiny point or an area to focus on. And pretty much the opposite of all of this information that I already said about Pisces is the sign of Virgo. So it doesn't really mean anything is necessarily good or bad, but these are just important things to always consider and know about. Because again, you just never know what position this could be for you or which house this could be for you. As I said last time, I should do a video on these because it could be important, but you do have you do have 12 houses, and with the 12 houses, there could be different points or celestial bodies in the different signs in your own chart. But again, basically my chart is set for more of a world general whole system type of chart. So basically, you're just going to have to pick an area to focus on, and this area I focused on is pretty much Pennsylvania. And the reason why I picked Pennsylvania is just because this is where a lot of things that started in the U.S. has happened. Some people choose other areas, but Pennsylvania goes back to 1772, I believe, where the Declaration of Independence was signed, which was in January 4th. So I just based a lot of my research from that area. But, when you're looking at yourself, you're going to obviously go to where you're born And then, once you do want to get into looking at things in the world, depending on your country, you're just going to pick the areas that, begin a situation, begin an entity, or something important. So yeah, just basically went over the area that I'm using for this chart, and to me, it just seems to be pretty much a flow of water. Different flows of water, of course, because this is a mutable sign, Pisces. So with a mutable sign, it's gathering of things, pushing things, moving things, which has been a lot. So, of course, not everyone's happy, which is normal, because that's the world we live in. But I do think there's just a lot of time to just kind of pick where you're going to go, and eventually it'll make sense. So other areas that you might want to know about, it would be maybe Mars, which is in Cancer, another water sign, by the way. The difference between this Cancer sign and Pisces is basically Pisces is mutable and Cancer is more of the cardinal. So I think of cardinal as like a starting point of something, and then I think of mutable, which is Pisces, as something that's gathering or maybe dealing with more than one type of situation. Not to say a cardinal sign couldn't do these things, but you're going to find mutable signs more connected to, mutable, dual. That's another good word for it, a dual sign. So, of course, you're going to pretty much have Mars where it can trine some of this stuff, depending on the chart, where the trines are going to be Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. Let's see here. So some other areas that could be notable is the ruler of Neptune in Pisces, of course, would be itself. So things could be foggy, but in my opinion, that's just how a lot of stuff has been lately, even with, things going on in our own country, which can be a little bit unfortunate. Like I said, all this stuff isn't necessarily good, but it could be too much of a good thing for some people. But I don't know, I just find some of the things going on a bit useful. So another thing to also take into consideration is Jupiter, which some say is a bit of a ruler of the sign Pisces too, but it more so rules Sagittarius in the Western system. That sign is going to be squared to this new moon in Pisces. Squares deals with the same type of sign. So right now Jupiter is in Gemini, which is another mutable sign, as I said before, dual, going against Sun and Moon in Pisces. It could be a load of information, and it's not just one day thing, it's all the time. Information technology, that's probably one of the best things to consider right now. A big shake-up of it. Information technology is supposed to be something that is for everyone, of course, to have a better life, better situations, something that's not necessarily coveted. And in my opinion, that's what's been going on lately. It's coveted systems, but with the introduction of AI, I just don't know if it will last long for anything to be necessarily coveted. Privacy as well, that's kind of been on limbo, in my opinion, for decades now. When I first started college, I did do some research in information technology, and I knew then that we would just be going into some interesting moments, which we are in now. I don't find it useful to be fearful of any of it, but I do find it very useful to work together with tools, considering the fact that everyone has different type of walk of lives, which just falls back into this whole interesting thing that certain people say about DEI, I haven't necessarily been a recipient of some of the great things from DI. I just kind of had to mention that. But I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. So yeah, I would say pretty much, days from now, of course, the moon pretty much moves almost, I don't know, I would say 2 degrees per day or something. So eventually that new moon will uh, be by itself in the area of Pisces where it just goes to, down the line, which would be Saturn next, and it'll conjunct that sign. It eventually will also conjunct the sign of Mercury, and then, of course, as I've said, at the very end of the sign of Pisces is going to be Neptune in the North Node. So yeah, to me, it's just like massive type of information. The psych too. I think that's another area to just kind of think about. The way you use your information, your time, your energy, all of that will be of importance. So I just would say, if you are already working on something, yeah, stick to it. But I would say maybe be open to collaboration. That could be very useful. Creating, dreaming, all that stuff is a part of this new moon, and of course, the months ahead. Because later, the sun will also meet up with, more than likely, Saturn, Mercury, as I've said already, and Neptune, North Node, because that's just what happens. As the months go along, we get more into the degrees of the sign. But however, the moon just moves much more faster to meet up with the signs I've already mentioned. So it's a bit of a mental thing. A mental thing dealing with the uncontainment of energy, which is, I looked at the sun. It doesn't necessarily work that well in a water sign, but it's still going to be impactful because it's massive. It's the sun. It's something that we see once we wake up and go to bed, because it sets. So before we go to bed, we'll see the sun. When we wake up, we see the sun. So there will be something there that could be useful. As far as cardinal sign, which was Mars, it also kind of squares with the sign called Chiron, which is called the healer, the wounded healer. I really think this sign of Mars, which has been in Cancer since last year, and it doesn't leave this sign fully until April, which is a long time. So all of this time that we're in, I would definitely say just kind of, again, be creative, be useful. And the sign of Mars is just, everyone. Because it's like in Cancer, which is a sign that deals with a little more containment with people. And I would say the sign of Pisces also does do that, but it's more of a dual side of it. So it's a lot of different voices, a lot of different themes. Where Mars is a little bit more focused in a sign of Cancer on home issues or issues that just matter to not necessarily just emotions, but importance of where you want certain things at. So yeah, this will be eventually leading into another area, which would be the sign of Uranus. It's in the Earth sign, fixed Taurus. It will be there for some time before it eventually gets into Gemini, but that's just going to help move things that weren't necessarily going into a direction, but you just got to think about it. It's a generational planet in a fixed sign, so it's not so easy. I don't think I missed too much of things that I just feel like are basic that you guys need to be aware of, but yeah, we're just going to keep shifting gears as the year progresses. Yeah, I just hope this is useful. You can again find me where I do collaborate with a lot of more information on the Instagram page of What's in Today's.